Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. I hope all of you are doing well, and today I'm going to be going through a devlog of sorts, talking about the current status of where I'm going with Myo Mashup's second set, that is Radiant Garden. Since July 10th, I've had the set available on Untap for people to give their thoughts and playtest the cards and give feedback. And so I wanted to kind of share with you what I've been doing in regards to that. So with that out of the way, let's get started. So I want to begin here with all the cards that have changed since the game entered the public playtest starting July 10th. These are in no particular order, but I wanted to start off with Tremor, which is a normal action that only destroyed a target domain. A lot of people playing this said it was kind of weak as is. I mean, after all, you can easily destroy domains by just playing one of your own, among other reasons, so I decided to change it up a bit. Increase its cost while also giving a little board wipe effect, destroying all opposing characters with defense 2 or less. It is a one-sided, which isn't very common in the game, so it's nice to have this along with the domain destruction effect. Up next is Spring Ahead, which was originally a 2-cost action that just lets you add the top card of your deck face up to your resource row. I've had this pointed out to me that it was a little too good as is, as a generic staple, so I've decided to tweak it a little bit and make it just look at the top 4 cards and then add a plant from among them. So it's really mainly used in plant-focused decks. So that's kind of a thing you can use in plant decks. Since they are the ramp archetype anyway, it makes sense to have it there. Also matches with the little artwork there. Next is Sporosaurus, who hasn't had a whole lot of changes. I just really made it so it could clarify the effect, just to make it clear that you put the -1/-1 counter on the character that the action card's owner controls. Originally, it just said that player, which was hard to understand, so I changed it a little bit to make it a little easier to understand. Shattered to Pieces is similar to Tremor, which has an effect that's kind of weak for its cost, so I've upgraded it to have multiple effects. In addition to its destroying target relic, you can also choose to deal 2 damage to an opponent or give a character +2/+0 until end of turn. It's nice to have the variety of abilities. Shadowfang. A lot of the Nightshade cards have been adjusted since I've put them on Untapped for the public to start playing with. Shadowfang is one of the first of these. It was a 2-cost relic modifier for the Nightshades only, but it's not, the effect isn't quite as good, so I decided to reduce its cost and reduce the effect slightly to just give it a Nightshade character +2/+1. Next is Psychic Repulsion, which was already pretty good on its own, but I decided to make one other change to it that could give it some additional functionality. It's nice to have the option of being able to negate action cards or return an attacking character to its owner's hand. But I've also added this little bit of functionality where you can reduce this card's power cost if you control a psychic character. It's a nice little bit of extra support for the psychic archetype that was introduced in set 1. So if you're building a psychic deck, this is a nice option for you. Overgrowth was a little weak as well. It has a good effect for pumping one of your characters for the turn, but it's a little overcosted at 4, so I've since reduced it to 2, which makes it a little better. Nightshade Spider is one of the Nightshade characters that has been adjusted. Instead of having this weak effect that you see here, and now it just has critical as well as being a 2/0 character instead of a 1/2 character. Cost is the same, and I think this is a much better card for the Nightshade since it actually synergizes pretty well with the archetype. It not only provides a nice removal piece for the Nightshades, but it also, if it attacks something with higher defense than it, it can easily send itself to the discard pile to fuel your Gororath plays later in the game. Next is Nightshade Bat, who has been powered up in the form you see here. It was kind of weak, just gaining 1 life point when you attack and deal damage. Kind of hard to do with that one attack, so buffed its attack and made its life points gain scalable, so it actually could be a nice cheap attacker in some kind of life gain deck. Something to look out for in the future, but as it is, it's a much better one drop than it was before. Florosaur Stomping Grounds is one domain that has seen some changes. At first it just gave the dinosaur characters overrun, but since then it's given them also a +1 attack boost as well, which is very helpful in many situations, just to have that little bit of extra damage for them. Dinosaur Egg was very weak in its first iteration. You could play it for 1, it was a 0-2 character, while also having an activated ability where you can destroy this to reveal the top card of your deck, and if it's a dinosaur character, you add it to your hand. The new version costs 1 more to use the ability, but it allows you to put that character into play instead, so it's still a gamble card, but the payoff is much more worth it. So the only thing here that was changed on Terria's Judgment here was actually this flavor text down here. If you're not familiar with how I make the cards, I have all these templates saved on Canva, and they often have a bunch of text on them that's placeholder. And the flavor text is one example. This is just placeholder text, but it's from the Small Fry Messenger card. I've since just changed its text to something a little more fitting for the card. The effect is still the same, but other than that, I just wanted to make sure to get that corrected before I ship those out. Swarm Tactics has not changed much. It's a nice little finisher card for the insect archetype to be able to get a bunch of attacks in with your insects and also give them a damage boost in the process. The only thing that really changed is giving them an extra point of attack power with this card, so it's a slightly better card for its cost. Next up is Nightshade Crocodile, who was a 4/6 character for 6 that had an activated ability for 3 power where you discarded a Nightshade to give it +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is equal to the discarded character's attack rating. I've instead changed this to a 6/4 character, and instead it's an auto ability where if he deals combat damage to a player, you could discard a Nightshade character to deal double that damage. It's a pretty nice extra ability to go even more aggressive. Nightshade Bear hasn't changed much. It was a 4/4 originally, but a lot of people liked the 6/3 stat line that it had on its playtest version, so I've decided to go ahead and change that here. The ability is still the same though, where if you have 5 or more Nightshade characters in your discard pile, this character gets +3/+0 in overrun, making him a 9/3 character for 5 cost, which is pretty good. Magic Eraser hasn't really changed a ton, but I did make some clarifications as to how the card works. So the original text was where you destroyed the target in-play card except for PowerPoint tokens. I've since changed it to clarify that you can destroy cards that have become PowerPoint tokens, like those characters you put into the resource row through effects like Spring Ahead or Delta Warrior Floresky. You can choose those to destroy, but not the initial 10 PowerPoint tokens from your resource deck that you have at the start of the game. Finally, there were a couple of rare characters that have been changed. One of those was Gorath Nightshade Beast. It costs 0/6, where he gains as much attack as you have Nightshade characters in your discard pile. That's all well and good, but he needed a little more to become an even bigger payoff, so I decided to add a once per turn activated ability where whenever he attacks, you can use it to allow him to attack an additional time, but at the cost you destroy the character afterwards, so you can get a couple of attacks in with him, but you'll be left vulnerable if you do choose to use the ability, which is pretty good. It can still help you win the game out of nowhere if you happen to play him at the right time. Final card change that I wanted to go over is Dondarin Lord of the Jungle. 10 cost, 12/6 is the ultimate dinosaur at the top end for the dinosaur archetype. He has an ability that's meant to protect him. It's a once per turn activated ability for 2 power where Whenever he would be targeted by an attack, ability, or card effect, you can use it to change the target to another dinosaur character you control. It was a little clunky and made it not worth the effort to bring him up, so I did change it. Instead, he's a little more simplified. He just has ward where opponents can't choose him except when they're attacking him, which does a much better job of protecting him on your board. And he also has the auto ability where whenever a dinosaur character you control attacks and does damage, you get to draw additional cards. So it's a nice little boon for you attacking with a bunch of your dinosaurs, and he can just trigger hit himself if you need to. So that's a nice thing to know. I'm going to be going through the full set list at a later date once I've gotten all the cards finalized. So you'll have to stay tuned to the channel when I finally do that. But for now, I want to move on to the next segment of the video. Next, I want to turn your guys' attention to Untap, as I have started on the tentative plans for the Set 2 starter decks. The first one I'm going to show you here is Florosaur Rampage. This is a dinosaur-focused deck, so you're going to get 2 copies of Donder in here, as well as a bunch of the other dinosaur cards like Vanessa the Beast Tamer, who helps you find your dinosaurs. You get the Aromasaurus in here, along with the Florosaurus Rex, as well as their younger counterparts, some Florodactyls, Sporosaurus, and Bramblesaur too. You even get a few copies of their field card, which is Florosaur Stomping Grounds, and Bite of the Rex as well, so get a pretty good deck out of the box. You even have some Zachary's Expedition for ramping as well. You even got some Terria's Gifts and Coins of the Radiant Lotus for draw power, as well as some Overgrowths to help boost your dinosaurs even more to be even more aggressive. It's a pretty good start to the dinosaur deck, and the other one I want to show you is the Nightshade deck, which is of course helmed by Gororath Nightshade Beasts. Your goal, of course, with this one is to get as many Nightshade characters in your discard pile as early as possible, so you can get Gororath out and deal a bunch of damage with him in one big swing, but possibly even using his second ability to use 2 attacks in one turn. And just like the previous one deck, there are some pretty good staple cards in here too. You've got Magic Eraser, Zachary's Expedition, once again for ramp. Got some pretty good supporting Nightshade characters too. You got the Hawk in there, Spiders in there of course, Wolf to get some cards back. You even have Nightmare Graveyard to make use of all the cards you put in your discard pile. Dash can even help you get cards in your discard pile as well. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is Wander the Dreamscape. It is in the Dinosaur starter deck as well, which allows me to talk about there is going to be a slight change in the starter decks. Instead of the coin you get with the Set 1 starter decks, you're going to be getting a dice, a 6-sided dice with your starter decks. It's going to change the packaging slightly, but the cost is pretty much going to be the same for you guys, but it's just you're going to get a dice instead of a coin, which I think is a little bit better. Of course, these decks are going to be subject to change again. The contents aren't final, but I thought I would go with the Dinosaurs and Nightshades since they were the most popular of the 2 archetypes early on, so I thought making starter decks based on them would be pretty good. And then I'm just going to turn it back around to the face cam for the final part of the video. Finally, I wanted to talk to you guys about the plans I have going forward for not only Set 2, but for a little bit beyond as well. First things first, I wanted to talk about when I'm going to start shipping out the prizes for the winners of the card design contest. Those I'm planning to place the orders for starting on September 4th. And then on September 12th, I'm going to be hosting on Untap a pre-release of sorts. It's basically, I'm going to be hosting an 8-player draft on Untap. That's going to take place on the 12th of September. Finally, the formal release of the game is going to be on September 25th, 2026. So that's when you'll be able to pick up Set 2 for yourselves. And then finally, I want to discuss what's coming after Set 2. So I do have one more release coming out in 2026, since that's going to be a Christmas pack of sorts, just a set of 6 cards at full play set, sort of like I did with the Community Appreciation Pack, but I'm going to be making some special holiday themed cards for Myo Mashup. That's going to be coming out in November 20th, so you'll have time to be able to place your orders on them and get them by Christmas, so you can look forward to that. And then I have a couple of releases in 2027. I've talked about this with a couple of other people in the HTCG space, but I am going to be doing Community Appreciation Pack 2 in 2027. Probably going to be releasing that in March or sometime around there, so you'll have to stay tuned for that as I provide more details about that. And between the release of Radiant Garden and in June 2027, my plan is to release the 3rd set of Myo Mashup as well, so I'm going to be working on that all the while too, so you can look forward to hearing more details about that as time goes on. But in the meantime, that's all I have for this little devlog. Thank you very much for watching. Throw me a like if you are interested in what's coming out, and I will see you in whatever video I upload next, and take care.